At 2:37 a.m., under a moonless sky over the Indian Ocean, a pilot listened as a coded voice cut through the static. Shadow protocol cleared for Operation Eclipse. The aircraft receiving those words didn't exist on any record. No transponder, no call sign. Not the B-2 Spirit bombers the world would soon see on the news. This was Darkstar, built to vanish. The B-2s rolled across Diego Garcia's runways for the cameras, a decoy for the truth already in the air. Darkstar had risen silently, no plume, no roar, just a low hum folding the night around it. The bombers formed their show of force, shielding what could never be acknowledged. High above, a pilot muttered, "Hope you packed light, Ghost Rider." Silence followed. Darkstar doesn't talk. It disappears. Why the B-2 story never added up. When the headlines broke, they were deafening. Every major outlet reported that the United States Air Force had unleashed its B-2 Spirit bombers on Yemen, allegedly delivering a brutal strike with the massive ordnance penetrator, a 30,000-pound bunker buster considered America's most destructive non-nuclear weapon. The implication was clear. Washington had escalated the conflict by using its most fearsome conventional bomb. Yet almost immediately, cracks began to show in the narrative. Defense insiders quietly pointed out that no evidence supported the claims. There were no massive craters in satellite images, no seismic disturbances recorded by sensors, no visible ground collapse of the type caused by such enormous munitions. What did exist were precision strikes so clean, so surgically neat, that they raised more questions than answers. Two U.S. officials later told defense reporters that no massive ordnance penetrators had actually been used. The supposed targets, tunnel complexes, and fortified positions were still largely intact. The official story had all the hallmarks of a cover. It became increasingly clear that the B-2s were not the real instruments of destruction that night. They were the mask. Behind them, something else had struck, something the Pentagon would never publicly confirm. The choice of Yemen as the stage made sense. Its skies had become the most lethal for American aircraft, a perfect proving ground for a weapon the world wasn't supposed to know existed. Yemen's lethal airspace. Since late 2023, Yemen's skies had transformed into a killing ground for U.S. drones and aircraft. With Iranian backing, Houthi forces had stitched together one of the most formidable anti-air networks ever fielded by a non-state actor. It was a patchwork of old Soviet hardware, improvised electronics, and adapted missile systems, but it worked with deadly efficiency. More than 20 MQ-9 Reaper drones had already been brought down, each loss a stinging blow to American surveillance operations. The threat was not theoretical. Bark II radar-guided missiles stood ready with a 70-kilometer reach, supported by loitering Sakr 358 heat-seeking missiles that silently patrolled the skies. Modified MiG-29 air-to-air missiles had been retooled for ground launch, while passive radar systems and infrared sensors hunted for the slightest emission or stealth failure. The network was dense, layered, and designed to make American dominance impossible. For a conventional aircraft, entry into this trap was a near-suicidal risk. And yet Darkstar flew straight into it. A phantom at Mach 6. The key to Darkstar's survival was not invisibility, but speed. Where stealth aircraft attempt to hide from detection, Darkstar simply outran it. Estimated to fly at Mach 6 or faster, it entered enemy airspace like a phantom, moving faster than radars could track or missiles could lock. By the time a Bark II system lit up its targeting array, the aircraft was already gone. By the time an infrared missile sought a heat trace, Darkstar had vanished behind it. Its skin was cooled to near ambient temperature, reducing its thermal profile almost to nothing. It gave off no radar emissions, no radio chatter, no electronic noise. It did not jam enemy systems or engage in decoys. It simply passed through hostile skies like a ghost, undetectable because it had already moved beyond reach. When it struck, it did so with surgical precision. Deep within the Yemeni mountains, a fortified command node fell silent. There was no massive explosion, no roar that rattled windows for miles. Instead, the bunker imploded as if crushed from within. The weapon was not designed for spectacle. It was designed for certainty. Overhead, the B-2s served their purpose, soaking up the cameras and headlines while the real kill shot disappeared back into the night. From SR-71 to SR-72, Darkstar's story begins in the Cold War, with the SR-71 Blackbird, The Skunk Works masterpiece that flew at Mach 3+ and rewrote the rules of reconnaissance. Though retired, whispers of its successor, the SR-72, haunted defense circles for decades. A hypersonic aircraft capable of Mach 6, designed not just to spy, but to strike. In 2023, Lockheed's Skunk Works confirmed tests of combined cycle engines, turbojet for takeoff, scramjet for hypersonic flight. Darkstar appears to be their culmination, the Blackbird's heir, engineered for the battlefields of the 21st century. Reusable, optionally crewed, and able to cross 5,000 miles without refueling, Darkstar isn't a weapon of mass deployment but a precision instrument. At $200 million per unit, it was never built for open war. It was built for missions no one would admit existed. Why the secrecy? If Washington acknowledged Darkstar's use over Yemen, the geopolitical consequences would be immediate. Iran would see it as a direct act of escalation. Russia and China, already racing to field hypersonic systems of their own, would pour even greater resources into countering this ghost aircraft. The global arms race would intensify overnight. Instead, the Pentagon relied on denial. Better to let the world believe that the mission was carried out by B-2 bombers with conventional bunker busters. Better to let the headlines shout about oversized bombs and familiar technology. That narrative was easier to digest, and more importantly, it kept adversaries uncertain. The ambiguity allowed the U.S. to signal power without provoking an overt international crisis. The silence heard around the world. In Beijing, Moscow, and Tehran, analysts noticed what didn't happen. No seismic shock from a massive bomb, no satellite plume, no trace of a B-2 strike. What they saw instead was worse. A hit too precise, too clean, too untraceable to match any known aircraft. The implication was clear. The U.S. had revealed a capability beyond hypersonic missiles, beyond stealth bombers, something entirely new. Darkstar wasn't just another weapon, it was a new category of power, and the only response was silence, because to speak would be to admit vulnerability, the next battlefield. Until now, hypersonic technology meant missiles, Russia's Avangard, China's DF-17, fast, destructive, but disposable. Darkstar changes everything. As a reusable hypersonic platform, it merges the speed of a missile with the versatility of an aircraft. It can scout, strike, and return. It doesn't evade defenses, it outruns them, and it carries a deterrence unlike any other, forcing adversaries to live with the possibility that it could appear overhead at any moment. Darkstar marks the dawn of a new battlefield, where speed eclipses stealth and hypersonic aircraft set the pace of war. Rivals will race to catch up. For now, America is ahead. The aftermath nobody saw. The mission in Yemen was a success. The bunker went silent, its command node neutralized. Yet the aftermath was deliberately invisible. There were no triumphant press releases, no declassified photos, no White House statements. Instead, the world was fed the story of B-2 bombers and massive conventional bombs, a narrative designed to conceal what had really happened. This silence is the essence of Darkstar's role. Its power lies not only in its ability to strike, but in its ability to be denied. The greatest weapon is not the aircraft itself, but the story that hides it. The real message was received not by the public, but by the generals in Beijing, Moscow, and Tehran, who now know that the United States possesses something they cannot yet match. The war nobody admits is happening. The night over Yemen may one day be remembered as the dawn of hypersonic dominance, though officially nothing extraordinary happened. The world continues to speak of B-2 spirits and bunker busters, while in reality, the rules of air combat may have shifted forever. When the next conflict comes, it will not be fought at subsonic speeds, and perhaps not even at speeds radar can follow. It will arrive hypersonic, strike unseen, and vanish into silence. And somewhere in that silence, Darkstar already waits. And that's the story they'll never confirm, but one that changes everything we thought we knew about the future of air combat. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure you hit that like and subscribe.